I think that's such an important change to see. I think because our youth have more risk that they're facing, they're going to live with this climate crisis longer than older generations. They recognize the need to be radical. I think another impact they've had is just their passion, the rage that they come. When you look at what youth are doing to combat the climate crisis, we have youth back home chaining themselves to pipelines, we have them getting arrested, we have them risking their lives for this climate action, and I think it's coming from a sense that they realize that their livelihood is at risk. The livelihood of their children and their grandchildren is at such a great risk that they're willing to be radical and they're willing to be proactive where older generations are not. And I think moving forward, as the youth become decision makers and become policy makers, we'll see the changes that we actually need to see in our communities. For me, one of the biggest issues is the co-production or the weaving of Indigenous knowledge with scientific knowledge. Indigenous communities have a lot of solutions, land-based solutions to climate change that scientists aren't able to access right now. And so a huge part of our work plan is legitimizing Indigenous forms of knowledge and finding avenues through which we can work with scientists to co-produce or weave together our different ideas to find solutions that will work for everybody. I think another key issue is finding avenues through which we can give Indigenous communities on the ground the support they need to implement their strategies. Back home in my communities, Native Hawaiians have a lot of solutions for climate change, but we aren't supported by our governments. And so I think a huge part of our goal is to decolonize the ways that we engage with science and the ways that we find solutions, so that Indigenous knowledge and that experiential land-based solutions can also be validated. Yeah, absolutely. So back home, one of our ingenious ways of food production is growing or raising fish in an aquaponic kind of fish pond system. On the island Molokai, there are hundreds of fish ponds along the shore that have the potential to feed our community without depending on the barge shipping in food, working with the environment and working with the oceans to feed ourselves. Most of them are state-owned, and the state is just sitting on them. The state isn't doing anything with them. They're not providing funding or access. Even though we have knowledge holders in our community with the skills to raise fish in these ponds and feed our communities, there's nothing happening. They've made reports dating back as far as 1993, which is the year I was born, and nothing in those reports, none of the action steps have actually been taken or made. And so there's sort of this political inertia happening where there's small attempts being made at giving us those access and those entry points, but it's not actually happening. And so I think if we could find ways to encourage governments and encourage states and parties to really give us the self-determination that we need, we'd be able to do a lot more good in our communities.